Now we're going to start building the Puff Rocket device. We're going to start with a piece of foam that looks like this. So go ahead and take that out of your bags if you haven't done it already. We're going to start with this cylindrical piece of foam, and we're going to also use a white bottle that looks like this. So you notice that this bottle can be squeezed and it bounces right back. I want you to take a look at this foam cylinder and hold it up to your eye and try to look through the hole. You might have to cover one eye to do that. Now when you do this, if you can see through that hole, then there isn't anything else we need to do with this and we can move to the next step. If you notice that it's dark and you can't see through it, that means that there's another little piece of foam stuck in there. And I can clear that by running a pencil through the hole like this. Or if I have another pokey type thing, I can poke that through. But the objective is to make sure that this is clear so I can see through it. Now, if you've done that and it's clear, A-OK. Here we go. I want you to turn your cylinder sideways. You notice there's this white piece of contact paper here. What we're going to do now is we're going to squeeze this a little bit, and that's going to help us take off the paper a bit. But the goal is to take off this piece of contact paper. And when you do that, you're going to take your finger, you're going to feel it's going to be a little sticky. And you can probably even hear it sticking to my finger, right? We're going to use that stickiness to attach this foam to this bottle. We're going to take the sticky side of the foam and I'm going to center it or put it in the middle of the mouth of the bottle. And I'm going to push it on there to make sure there's a good seal. And when I do that, you can see it's on there. You could probably even see inside of my bottle. You see that? Now you can probably feel the air if you squeeze it. If you can feel a puff of air on your hand, you know that you've created a good seal right here. It's attached pretty well. Okay? Now, you have a series of straws in your set. It doesn't matter what color they are, but the size does matter. You're going to notice that you have a couple of what we call jumbo straws, and you might have a straw that has a wrapper on it. Okay, so I want you to focus on the straw with the wrapper on it. And if you need to unwrap it, please do so. Again, it doesn't matter what the color is, but what we're really focused on is the idea that you have a regular drinking straw versus jumbo straws, which are a little bit wider, okay? If I notice that I can put one on top of the other and I can slide it freely, then that means that it's a pretty good, what we call a telescopic fit. It's almost like extending a telescope, right? Telescopic fit. So this is a really cool thing, okay? But I want you to take what would be the narrow straw, the regular drinking straw, and I want you to slowly insert it into the hole in the foam, like I'm doing. I'm going to keep pushing, and I might need to twist it left and right in order to do that as I'm pushing down, applying a net force down, okay? And I'm going to go in as far as I think I need to go to make sure that I'm in. So, and I can test that by squeezing it, and if I feel a puff of air on my hand, then I know that it's in far enough. Okay? So again, foam onto the bottle, narrow straw into the hole in the foam. If I can feel the air, I'm good. This is the launcher for our puff rocket. Now we're going to set this aside. And I'm going to take one of my jumbo straws, okay, and I'm also going to take this thing called a foam dowel. It's basically a skinny, longer piece of foam than what I had before, and you're going to notice there's no sticky on here. It's not sticky at all, okay. I'm going to turn this sideways, and I'm going to squeeze it with my finger and roll it until I squish it. You see, you can't see it anymore? I'm going to slowly insert this into the straw, and I'm going to squeeze and twist and push all at the same time. Squeeze, twist, push, that way. And I'm going to keep doing that until I have just about a little more than half of that foam dowel inside of that straw. Okay? There's a little bit sticking out, and I want that. That's going to help us with safety, and it's also going to give us a nice little activity we can do later. Okay? We'll talk about that a little bit later. Now, in your kits, you also have a file label that looks like this. Again, it doesn't matter whether yours is blue and white like mine. The color is not really the important thing here. The important thing is that you have a label that has a sticky side. So if I peel off the label, it feels sticky, right? So we're going to use this to make fins for our rocket, because as you know, rockets have fins. Otherwise, when they launch in the air, they'd be spinning and twirling all over the place and probably crash. Not a good thing if you're riding in the rocket. So I'm going to take my piece of label and I'm going to imagine that I've divided it into 3 equal pieces. So here's 1/3, 2/3, 3/3. I'm going to take my rocket and I'm going to place it about 1/3 over on the label. Okay, and I'm going to leave a little bit of space here, okay, on purpose. So here's how I do this, okay. I'm going to take the remaining 2/3 of the label, right? Remember I divided it into thirds. Here's 1/3, 2/3, 3/3. So this represents 2/3, right, of the whole. Okay, I'm going to fold about 1/3 over until I get something that looks like this. See how I folded it over? I actually made it stick to itself right here. And so what I've done is I've left 1/3 here and approximately about 1/3 here. It doesn't have to be exact. Okay? So now I'm going to fold this part over until it touches the rocket. And again, if your fins don't look like mine, they don't have to be exact, because we're going to use some scissors in a moment. We're going to trim this anyway. So I've got effectively 3 fins. They're not equal size, and that's okay. Because now I'm going to take my scissors and I'm going to make them all the same size. Doesn't that look a little closer now? If I see 1 and rotate it 2 and 3, they're almost the same size now. But I'm also going to trim a little bit at an angle here, because I want them to be sort of triangular, not just square fins. Now you can trim this any way you want. I'm just showing you how I usually do it. You might want to make yours different, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. So I have triangular fins going around my rocket, and you can see that. Okay? Now, for the big event. This is the point where you're going to want to fire things all over the place, and that's okay. I'm going to take my rocket. I'm going to slide that rocket straw onto the launcher. And now we got to get to the point where we're going to operate the device. Okay? I'm going to show you how to do it. We're going to pause the video and you're going to practice for a few minutes. Okay? The way that I'm going to do this is I'm going to hold it in 2 hands. I'm putting my thumbs on one side and my hands centered on the other side. Okay? And now I'm going to find a direction that's safe and not towards people and not towards pets and not towards breakables. I could probably even do this outside, which is ideal. Okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold this to the side, and I can do it at any angle I want. What I'm going to do is I'm going to squeeze the bottle. I'm going to squish it with both my fingers applying a force and my thumb applying a force. Both hands in the action, nobody left behind. And I'm just going to do it very rapidly. 1, 2, 3. Whoa!